You know the dream, right? Trading from a laptop on some sunny beach, a few clicks here and there, and bam, you've achieved total financial freedom. It's a really powerful myth, a really popular one. But today, we're going to peel back all that marketing and take a look at what it really takes. And yeah, this quote, it just nails it. This is the voice of literally countless people who are drawn to the markets by that promise of independence, of ditching the 9 to 5 for good. And look, it's an intoxicating idea for sure, but what happens when that dream slams into reality? Well, here's the hard truth. Trading is a minus-sum game. You see, it's not even a zero-sum game, where for every winner there's a loser. No, the whole system is actually designed to drain money out of the pot. Just think about it for a second. You've got broker fees, you've got data fees, spreads, that's that tiny difference between the buy and sell price, and slippage, when you don't get the exact price you wanted. All of these things mean the industry itself is constantly feeding on a fresh supply of losing traders just to keep the lights on. The whole field is kind of slanted against you from the very beginning. So you might be asking, if it's that hard, how in the world does anyone actually succeed? Well, it's not about finding some secret magical trading strategy. Nope. Real success is built on a solid foundation, and that foundation has 3 core pillars. This is the framework that truly separates the professionals from the gamblers. And here they are. 1. Master your risk. 2. Master your size. And 3. Master yourself. Now, these are not just buzzwords. They are 3 distinct, absolutely critical skills. And you'll notice finding the perfect stock pick is not one of them. The real work is in the structure, the math, and the psychology. So let's break each one down. Okay, so the first and honestly the most important pillar is risk management. I want you to think of this as your shield. Before you can even think about making money, you have to become obsessed with not losing it. This is what keeps you in the game long enough to learn, to adapt, and eventually to profit. It is absolutely 100% non-negotiable. And it all starts with this one number, 2%. And let me be clear, this is not a suggestion. For so many professional traders, this is an ironclad law. This is the famous 2% rule. It means that no matter how confident you are in a trade, no single position should ever have the power to wipe out a big chunk of your capital. This rule forces you to be disciplined. It makes sure that you can survive a string of losses, and believe me, they will happen, without blowing up your entire account. But what about a series of small losses? One single trade at 2% won't kill you, but a dozen of those small cuts, they can bleed you dry. And that's where this next number comes in, 6%. So this is the 6% rule, and it's basically designed to protect you from what some traders call the piranha effect. It's your circuit breaker. When you hit this limit, it's a huge red flag that something is wrong, either with the market or with your strategy. It forces you to just stop, step back, analyze what's going on, and it prevents a bad month from turning into a catastrophic, account-ending one. Okay, so having rules is one thing, but how do you actually use them when things are moving fast, in the heat of the moment? A rule is pretty useless without execution, right? And that brings us to our second pillar, mastering your size. This is where we turn those abstract risk percentages into concrete, specific actions. This is the big question, isn't it? It's one thing to say, okay, I'm only going to risk 1%, but it's a whole other thing to know exactly how many shares or lots to actually buy to make that a reality. And the answer isn't guesswork, it's math. And here it is. This is the tool that gives you total control. This simple formula lets you calculate your lot size, which is really just the volume of your trade. You plug in your account balance, your chosen risk percentage, and your stop loss. That's just the price where you automatically get out of a losing trade. And boom, it tells you exactly how big your position should be. This is how the pros stay so consistent. Let's make this real. Say you have a $1,000 account, and you're risking 1%. That means you're putting $10 on the line. If your strategy says you need a 50 pip stop loss, a pip is just the tiniest price move in Forex, you just plug the numbers in. The formula spits out the answer, 0.02 lots. See? It's not an emotional decision. It's a simple calculation that makes sure your loss, if it happens, is exactly what you planned for, and not a penny more. All right, this brings us to our final, and honestly by far the most difficult pillar to master. You can have the best risk rules in the world, the most precise math, but none of it matters if you can't actually follow them. This is the inner game, mastering your own psychology. The real battle, you'll find, isn't with the market, it's with yourself. When a trader hits a losing streak, a drawdown, the brain just starts to panic. It starts looking for solutions where there aren't any. And this usually leads to one of these classic emotional traps. You try to dig your way out with frantic overtrading, or you abandon a perfectly good system after just a few losses, or you just freeze up completely and do nothing. All of these are driven by fear and frustration, not by logic. This slide is just fascinating because of how real it is. This is a trader's actual handwritten note to themselves. And look at what's circled down at the bottom: overtrade and overleverage. This isn't some complex chart pattern. This is a reminder of the internal enemies. It just brilliantly shows you that the most important rules are often the ones we set for our own behavior. So, what's the one quality that separates those who survive these psychological battles from those who don't? It's resilience. I mean, just look at these two stories. Dave Mustaine gets kicked out of Metallica right before they become the biggest band in the world. He channels all that anger and ambition into forming Megadeth, another legendary multi-platinum band. On the other hand, Pete Best gets kicked out of the Beatles right as Beatlemania is about to explode. He falls into a deep depression and never really recovers. The setback was pretty similar. The response was everything. So let's see how this all builds up. When you combine these three pillars, that shield of risk management, the precise math of position sizing, and the psychological resilience to actually execute your plan, you stop acting like a gambler. You start operating like a professional business. You know, this quote, famously used by Ray Kroc, the guy who built the McDonald's empire, it just says it all. More than talent, more than genius, more than education, it's persistence that matters most. This is the mindset of a business owner, not some get-rich-quick artist. It's the understanding that this is a long, hard process, and pure determination is your ultimate edge. And so, in the end, it really comes down to this. So many traders spend all their time searching for the perfect pattern on a chart. But as we've just seen, the most important patterns to master are your own. Your patterns of risk, of discipline, and your emotional responses. That's where the real edge is found.